Right, it is now time for raising funds for World Domination, day 97. So, no updates on the overall news. Released a video yesterday. No work on the World Domination plans today. Today I did a bit of work on the test cases that I've been developing for the terminal block mining simulation game. So let's pull those changes. So some of the changes involve, I wanted to add like an intrinsic position to every layer. So it basically knows where it should be placed. And that will facilitate merging the two. I want to merge the two merging functions. So that'll make that. That's one step toward making that happen. And then the other thing is the unit tests. So I'm going to slowly make these unit tests more generic. So eventually this will contain this will just produce like an arbitrary number of layers with arbitrary width and height. And eventually I'll make every sublayer arbitrary width and height and dimensions. And this will be, I was hoping to come up with an implementation that'd be simpler than this, but turns out to be the implementations that I keep coming up with are too buggy, so I need more robust test cases. So this will be on par with basically like a fuzzer. So the next thing I should actually do make a function to get a random Boolean. Orthoplex 64 sends a wave. Forgot to acknowledge you. 6 Diego, 1 Diego 9. Will you be making a video about the eviction situation? Hope you defeat the developer. Maybe eventually. There's some other videos that are higher priority in the short term. I don't have much update on it at this point. There's not necessarily a lot of details. So I think it'll make more sense once I have a conclusion. But other than that, the next hearing date is October 6th. Wait, am I in the right repo? Hello, Blitz. Says, hey, Robert, I liked your new video. Excellent. What's your opinion of Rust coding language? I've never tried it, and I don't really have plans to try it. From what I understand, the syntax is quite complex, and that's an issue. There's I've heard about issues with like the standard library and like linking related issues. I forget the specific issue, but there's like some design flaws with like long compile times or something. I think there is a very sore need for something to replace C, or at least I think if we could have expended human effort in a better way, it would have been to like go back to the basics of C, like basically fork C, like something like maybe C99, do a fork of C99, and add something, maybe a new annotation or something to it that does, like try to implement the borrow checking feature in C somehow. And maybe I think there's some design flaws there with how the C preprocessor makes it unnecessarily complicated. I generally agree with your concept of 5% of people are entrepreneurs and make their own destiny. Yeah, I think that's probably approximately right. I mean, it might be like 2% or 1% or maybe 10%, or probably depends on the environment. But I do think there are some people who like like if you just tell them like, oh, you gotta have a passion or something like that, and they see like you're doing them a disservice by telling them that they're gonna that they could do one of these like grandiose things, and it's not even that they couldn't, it's that they don't want to. And it takes, for some people, they'll spend a lot of time on it and they realize like, hey, this, I could do this, but I don't want to. It's too much work. I've heard it's harder to be creative in Rust. Yeah, I can imagine that. I haven't actually coded the language yet. I remember reading there's a roadmap for a borrow checker in C++. That'll be neat, even more complexity in C++. I think the holy grail would be maybe like, I guess possibly even like a fork, like a non-backwards compatible fork. Like go back to like C99 and fork the language, and like some of the older legacy, like technically, I'm not even sure if it'll compile in a modern compiler, but in the olden days of like the B programming language, all variables were integer type, so you could just like write like instead of int a, you could just go a semicolon, and that would declare a variable a, because it was assumed int by default. And there's all kinds of like complexities with the syntax, and I think you could just get rid of all that crap. And there's a ton of weird like rules with anonymous structures and stuff, and like iron out all that garbage and just make it simple so that the compiler is simple, and fix some of the issues with, I'd say, in like the C standard library, try to remove as much as possible anything to do with the C preprocessor, because the C preprocessor that could be I think that would reduce the complexity of C a lot. The fact that the preprocessor, language and C itself are tightly coupled is the source of much complexity. I think specifically with software development, these kinds of people end up in a situation like the other 95%, where they're beholden to their clients. Yeah, in a business, you are still, everybody has, like if you're getting money somewhere, you're beholden to the people that give you money. But at least you still have, it's a bit closer to an actual business, and you can actually, you can get growth out of it and stuff. Rust is very authoritarian. Interesting. I've never heard of it described that way, but I guess it probably could be. Can't wait for day 100. Yeah, we're coming up with that close. Watch your video inspired me to drop out of CS and become a plumber. Excellent. I hope that's the right path for you. I do agree. A lot of kids get massive pressure. The gifted child creates a false sense of reality, immense pressure. I think if the kid wants to, I think a really key variable is like, if you really want to do it, but like for the kids in the class who are in like the bottom 30% of motivation and drive to do things, if you tell them that they got to find their passion, and they're just kind of naive, they're like, oh well, I guess I like painting pictures. I guess I'm a painter then. And if you're told by some kindergarten teacher, like if you are passionate about it, you'll succeed and you'll be happy and stuff, but you might just end up homeless. Yeah, the idea the more work can translate directly into more pay is tempting. Sometimes it can. What's your opinion of the GPL license? I guess I don't really have I haven't really thought about it. I guess it's been successful. It's some of the biggest projects, open source projects, are GPL licensed. But then I guess I talked to a lawyer about copyright and open source and stuff, and I think he said MIT licenses are MIT or Apache is just kind of, MIT is just good and simple, and Apache is like, it's maybe a bit more like lawyer friendly because it just has more specific stuff it spells out. I used to give music lessons to kids that definitely did not want to be there. Yep. They will definitely not be professional musicians someday. Alex M says, salutations person. What is your plan for world domination? I'm glad you asked that. I have a video on my channel. It's called My Plans for World Domination. And it'll it should get you up to speed on the plan. Sam is online. Says hello. How's it going? All right, let's try to figure out why this don't work. Understood. I shall gaze upon it and return. Farewell, and anon. Is this SQL? This language on the screen? This here is Java. How can you concentrate on coding while streaming? I could never. It is difficult. I'm definitely not productive. I did a really long stream one day of like 10 hours, and I was like, this is kind of boring. I should like do something. And then I tried doing some code, and I found it like after like many hours, I was able to kind of get into the groove of it. I've like write a bit of code and go back and forth. It's definitely slower, but I guess if you just if you spend hours and hours just staring at it and kind of thinking about it and like glancing at chat, you can slowly make a bit of progress. Some people were born to lose. Everybody is not meant to win. I guess. I mean, by definition, if you didn't have losers, you wouldn't have winners. Because if everybody won the race, then it wouldn't make sense. But at the same time, you also have to define what winning and losing means. I mean, ideally, everybody's supposed to be able to have a basic life, life 101. Although that seems to be like the option to just have default life is becoming more and more difficult. What are you making? I'm new. I'm currently working on some unit tests for a terminal-based video game. I guess I can just run the game. It's kind of broken. The UI is kind of broken right now. So with that, if that happy face didn't disappear, so it's a terminal-based video game where you simulate the process of mining blocks. So you spam the M key to mine some blocks, and then they show up in your inventory, and that's it. Have you ever been hacked? I hope not. I'm pretty careful about checking emails and stuff like that. I'm very I don't trust attachments and stuff, although a lot of them always show up in my junk folder. All right, let's check that merge function. Actually, let's run the test again. Is it in very early stages? Well, I don't know. I've been working on it a while. Yeah, I guess you could say it's pretty early stages. There's currently there's not a lot of content in the game, but I've been working on a lot in like the systems and stuff. So I have like a frame system, so you can open new frames, and once the UI is kind of a bit more stable, then I can actually do some of the work to add new frames and stuff for, like, you know, inventory control and whatnot. You said you lost some crypto to a hack. That was the exchange where the crypto was hosted. I think it might have just been like the exchange just stole it, because that was, I think, also a big thing. Or like probably like Mt. Gox or something. Whatever happened with them, like an employee stole it, or they just got hacked and lost everything. Opinions on DSLs, domain specific languages, for general purpose ones. I'm not sure I have an opinion on that subject. Yeah, I've never never really sat down to think about that, other than just kind of stating the obvious that general purpose is maybe gonna. I don't even know what the rigorous definition of domain specific versus general purpose would be. New video was a banger. Good job. Excellent. Mt. Gox days were crazy. Yeah, there was an arbitrage condition, I remember. Actually, it was before it was revealed that they got hacked. There was an arbitrage condition that built up. And I was saying to someone like, "Hey, if you're really into that, you could you could exploit that and make money." And they explained that the problem was in completing the cycle, that you can't fully exploit it. That's why the arbitrage condition opened up, because you couldn't actually move the money. And then later on, they reveal, like, oh yeah, we get hacked. How are you doing? My favorite millionaire consulting entrepreneur. It's been a second since YouTube recommended you. I'm pretty good. I'm working on the terminal block mining game tonight. All right, I added a test for the layer active feature, but it looks like it's not working. I've been working on an app, and I'm just making an application for Innovation Norway, which will give money if they find the idea worth it. Kahoot was actually made with its help. Interesting. Kahoot actually was made with its help. I'm not sure what that means. Is that a popular app or something? Oh. My top character detection is not correct. It's a support program to help entrepreneurs reach their goals. It's based in Norway, and Kahoot is the quiz app. Interesting. Hey, Kahoot, is that like a popular? I've never heard of it, but is that a popular quiz app that like everybody knows about? That's neat. Norway's an interesting country. It's one of those. I don't know. I have a high opinion of Norway. It's one of those kind of like very I don't know, kind of rural, old school There's a lot of like hardcore scientists and stuff. Like a lot of people have like really obscure materials science and stuff. Actually, there's on my channel, I have a video about a line width standard photo mask on my channel, and I'm pretty sure that came from Norway. It's a calibration photo mask. I've heard of it. It's pretty popular. I assume the Kahoot app. Interesting. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me if there's like a thriving underbelly of entrepreneurship there. One of the best countries to live in. Yeah, that statement wouldn't surprise me. It's still I mean, it's pretty sparsely populated and stuff. So there's still lots of rural off-grid areas to go to. And at least from what I understand, it's I don't know if it's changed much in the last few years, but I'd always thought of it as a fairly like high trust society. Although everywhere seems to have been going downhill lately. Suffer from racism in younger generations. Yeah, there's a lot of that all around the world. But I don't know. I'm not sure what the governments of the world, most of the Western world, would have expected. We have very high immigration with like not enough supports for people, so it's not surprising that there's tensions. That is still broken. This was supposed to be a simple fix, but it's not. Singapore has or had a system where families had to live on floors with interleaving races, so there was heterogeneity between neighbors consistently. Yeah, I think, I mean, on some level that's that makes sense, but one of the issue we've had, like, that's not really even like a super complicated idea. Like, we basically had, when we had reasonably moderate numbers of immigration, that was possible, but the numbers are so high now that it is possible. Like here in Brampton, there are like, it's not even possible to have diversity because it's almost, there are areas where it's like almost exclusively people from India. And the other thing too is like, I mean, people focus way too much on the race, but it's also the language. Like, if people come here and immediately speak the language, like, there's tons of people who are like of a totally different race, but you can talk to them. But and it works both ways. If you go to China and you can't speak the same language as anyone, the first thing you'll do is you'll look for other people who speak English and like make friends with them and then try to branch out. But that's difficult. But if you learn the language first, you can go there and integrate with anyone. What do you mean by world domination? I have a video on my channel that explains the plan. Yeah, it's called my plans for world domination. It's one of my recent videos. Singapore punished criminals. I mean, that's another thing. There's not just one thing that the government could do to improve everything. Norway, people eat seagulls and swans. Yeah, I've seen stuff like that. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. I saw the vid where Gordon Ramsay catches and he presses a puffin midair in one swoop, and then takes it back to cook. I haven't seen that. That almost sounds like a description of a prompt for an AI generated video. My work starts in 15 minutes. Do you have any advice on a recent grad as first job, still feeling the need to perform well, feeling scared that I won't? You can just do your best. I would say, if you're new, I guess if you're recent grad at his first job, I would say the heuristic, like when you're just learning the ropes, is something you can do to not be annoying and also appear more attentive. That I think is just a simple, subtle trick. Is get it like a notepad, like just a little simple notepad, and when your boss or someone asks you to do something, immediately write it down, and don't put it on your phone or laptop, because if you're putting something, if you're like looking at your phone or something, people think, oh, that they're like ignoring me and they're looking at TikTok or something. But if someone, superiors or whatever says something to you, and you're like, oh, thanks for that tip, that command or whatever, or I need to like look this up, write it down, and even if you're like going to remember it anyway, that like signals that you are interested and care and you're like trying to do a good thing. And then also I find it overall it really does just help. Like if someone tells you to do something once, or if you ask for like help on something, and you actually take the notes, and you don't have to ask if you don't know things. I think any competent coworkers won't hold it against you if you don't know something, but if you ask the same question multiple times and they already told you, that's people don't like that. But if you just keep track of what people say, then of your to-do list. I had that at most of my companies. Now technically I'm not sure if it made a difference, but I think it did. So that's my random tip for you. What are we talking about? I'm not sure what we were talking about at the time you asked that. I think we're talking about, I don't know, something to do with immigration. It's YouTube. Gordon and his buddy on some small island filled with puffins, traveling overhead. He catches it live. Oh, is that an AI video? Feet reveal when? Oh, that's the wrong type of channel. Liu Hiroyama sends 500 Japanese yen. Thank you very much. Write it down, not on digital devices. Yep, I think even just the social gesture of signaling to someone that you're like, oh wow, thank you for your incredible wisdom, and then you can write it down, and then they'll feel super important. It's not AI, it's an old video from a long time ago. It's on a small island filled with puffins. Oh, really? I'll have to look at that. Sounds like an AI video, but talking about your mom? I don't think so. Don't think I'm allowed to share a link. Yeah, it'll probably censor the link. So this should work, but it's not working. Don't think it came through. No, you might be able to send the code, like the URL, the v = code. I'm obsessed with No Code Mondays. What do you do on Mondays? There it is. I guess for anyone who's interested, I'll check it out later. Yeah, I'll have to see it to believe it. As based on your description, it really sounds like an AI generated video. procrastinate without feeling bad about myself. And that's decent. That doesn't make sense. All right, let's figure out why the merging doesn't work. Nice. The Glock Saint sends $2. Thank you very much. I guess that's a super sticker that says cool. Why does that have two elements when it's supposed to have one? the different layers. How's the whole eviction situation going? Currently, there's at least one more hearing, and that is going to be on October 6th. So during that hearing, we're gonna on the last hearing we ran out of time. There was one more witness who was going to testify. Then we ran out of time, so we're discussing the merits of whether it is necessary to actually evict all the tenants in order to complete the proposed renovations. But the landlord already lost at a bunch of the other buildings, so I think that bodes well for the ruling in our case. But for now, there's no, until they would get an eviction order, and they actually lost on a technicality for a bunch of other tenants here. So for those tenants, technically there's no open case, eviction case against them anymore. Yep, I mean, it's good news. It means they would have to before they can actually evict, they have to get an eviction in order to evict from the tenant board. And I think the tenant board saw through. I mean, there's been like so many articles and media stuff about it, and like independent organizations putting up a big stink about it, that and they had a pretty weak case as well. You're an inspiration. Oh, thanks. I don't know if it's really not sure I particularly did anything exceptional. It's more of, for my situation, it's like I could leave. I could just leave Ontario, but then I gotta drag all my stuff out of here and whatnot. But if I just stay here, I can, keep on keeping on. And at the moment, there's no legal basis for me to stop paying my reasonable rent. And actually, when they were really pushing for the renovations, rent was like going up like crazy. But rent has actually come down a bit. Actually, I think there's probably that might even be a bigger factor, is that rents have come down a lot. So if they do successfully evict us, the upside is less now. So if rents, if our rents went to $3,000 or something, they'd probably be pushing a lot harder. That's weird. The concurrent viewers just said not in sync. No, it says 0 concurrent there, and it says 13 over there. Do you think things would have been different for you if you could work in a corporate setting rather than solo. I've talked extensively about that in other videos. I guess I think if I had like, I mean, I did work in the corporate 9 to 5 for enough time to experience that. I think if I did, instead of starting my business, if I had gone into corporate, I would have just been counting the days until I left, because it's kind of excruciating. I mean, I have a bunch of videos where I go into the detail of what it's like to work at those tech companies. We're not concurrent views, we're time multiplexed. That's true, I guess. Yeah, 14 and 10. Random. Okay, let's step debug through that again, because I forgot what was going on. I have 2 corporate jobs and one government job. That's a lot of jobs. Stop taking all the jobs. You gotta share jobs. Which fields in CS do you most enjoy? I don't know. I guess they're all pretty interesting. I'd say whatever's the most like impactful. I'm kind of drawn to. I'm drawn to some of like the grandiose problems, like it would be fun to find infinite time, such as work on academic problems like the P equals NP problem, like SAT solvers and stuff like that. But then again, there's a lot of people who I think have worked on that and done amazing work, but the work doesn't really get. I think that there's not a lot of people out there actually taking advantage of the benefits of the SAT solvers. It's like an underappreciated piece of work. I have had words. Yeah, you mean you have in the past had 2 corporate jobs and 1 government job. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I was gonna say 3 jobs once. There was some guy who had like 6 jobs at once. He had like 6 remote jobs, and he was making a crazy amount of money. So that's a thing now. I mean, that's kind of an interesting dynamic, because that's going to make a lot more managers way more paranoid about people doing stuff like that. Like, imagine how stupid you would feel if you had an employee who was you're paying a full-time salary, but they're working for like 5 other companies. Nathan Finch says, "What's up? Not too much. Just working on the block mining simulation game." I heard about SAT solvers briefly. What is it? So SAT solvers are significant because in the world of algorithms, there's a large class of problems that are in the NP complete class of problems, and there's proof. There are problems that are difficult to solve but easy to verify, and every problem that is identified as being in the NP complete class can be reduced in polynomial time, or transformed into another instance of a problem in that class. So stuff like like a traveling salesman problem of like finding like a path, like if you're a package delivery person and you're trying to figure out you're like an Amazon driver, you're trying to figure out what's the optimal path to deliver a bunch of packages across town. Should you go to this location first? And of course that's actually has real world implications for logistics and stuff. But it's a difficult algorithm to figure out every single path and street and stuff. So, and so that's an NP complete problem. And then there's also like vertex covering and a whole bunch of other. There's the Boolean satisfiability problem. The 3 satisfiability problem is in that same class. So you can take that graph traversal problem, transform in polynomial time, transform it into a Boolean logic problem, which is not obvious that you can do that at first. And so SAT solvers are significant because if you improve SAT solving, you make improvements on everything on this massive class of problems, like the traveling salesman and all kinds of graph stuff. And yeah, I guess just Google like list of NP complete problems. Not trying to triple employee. It's lucrative though. People are getting away with that. All right, let's figure out why this merging is not working. Money isn't the goal. Reclassification of NPN problems to NPS, just as your explanation. Yeah, I'm having trouble making sense of that in relation to the thing about jobs, but route inspection problem, also called Chinese postman problem. Yeah, I haven't heard that one before, but wouldn't surprise me. There's probably someone Google list of NP complete problems, and there's got to be like 100 things in that list. It's an NP complete problem. Yeah, there's a bunch of those. What do you think a SAT solver impact would be in the future? It's a good question. I mean, there could be some algorithmic breakthrough. They could. Technically, there's no proof that there is not a polynomial time algorithm to solve everything in the NP complete class. And if you did find that, then you would prove that P equals NP, and that would also have massive ramifications for computing. I think I remember reading, technically there's not even a proof that there's no linear time algorithm for NP complete problems, which would be even crazier. Can't keep me on subject when you're talking about more interesting things than employment. Or are you also interested in CS theory? Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that can kind of nerd snipe you. But it's it'd be nice to be like rich and have the time to research those kinds of academic problems. I'm interested in way too much. Yeah, me too. How much are you estimating it will cost for world domination? The initial plan is to get around $12 billion. Have you watched my my video on my plans? I have a dedicated video on the subject on my channel. Yeah, all the plans are in there. Back to the sonic hammer to make the bunker. Sonic hammer. I remember that from the other night. I forget what it was. Is that a type of like drilling device? Vivek Yadav says, "Hi there, how's it going?" theoretical one. I'll have to Google that if I remember to. Touch some grass, bro. I think I did recently. I have some videos where I touched the grass. You can check those out. And the members of the chat also touch grass. We have a very well adjusted audience here. Alex, yes, but it looks grim for getting a job. And there is the rat race part. If any paying corporate job. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to advise. I know. I don't know. It's so hard to give advice because the economy is changing so much. Now on YouTube, I definitely see like lots of videos trending on YouTube of people saying they got laid off from their CS job and stuff. But then again, I also I was seeing. I also saw some videos that like even construction jobs and stuff, and that it's difficult for plumbers. I saw that in one video where they were saying it's difficult for plumbers were having bad business. But then in my most recent video, I called a few plumbers and they seem to be doing well. So it's really hard to put a finger on it. This also I think things are very much in flux right now. I mean, geopolitically things are crazy, and I think there's a few recent waves of layoffs here in Canada. So I guess you'd have to get a really good handle on things. You'd have to actually, I guess maybe call some things. Maybe we should do another video where I just cold call a bunch of like software companies and be like, hey, are you guys hiring? Like, what's the job market like, or something? And chat with them for a while. Make Scales hardware software. They pay me all right. Scales for weighing stuff. Is it for like small scales or like truck weighing scales? I was crashing out about how many wild editing Java bytecode on live JVM a night or two ago. You're crashing out about Java bytecode editing. That's an interesting topic, but I don't know why it would cause you to crash out. Okay, I think I found a bug. First language was Java. Have you heard what's going on in UK? It depends what you even mean by that. I've heard there's multiple things going on in the UK. The government is trying to implement like some internet age restriction stuff, and they're trying to push the same thing here as well. They want to lock down the internet. We already had a similar bill like that here in Canada before. Then it got defeated, and now it's like they're trying to ram it through again. I entered context about what I meant, and YouTube censored me. Yep, welcome to the future. Yeah, it is funny. YouTube doesn't seem to censor much about like you can swear if you type a swear word, but if you like whenever people are trying to talk about what's going on in Iran or something, YouTube will censor that. Yeah, there's also I think some protests and stuff. Kids should be protected, but parents should parent. Yeah, I think I think it's also kind of a little bit, in a way, it's kind of naive. Like the whole point of raising a child is to, you want to teach the, like if you raise a child in the jungle, you don't just like protect them. You don't just tell them that like, you know, the jungle is safe, and then as soon as they're 18, just let them loose to roam around. You have to like kind of ease them into it, you know, and teach them like, okay, here's how you like avoid lions and poisonous snakes and stuff like, you know, gotta like expose them to danger in a controlled way so that when they're alone, they'll be able to understand it and integrate that. But I'm like, most of the stuff they want to do seems to have nothing to do with protecting kids. Tech literacy is important to be a good parent. Yeah, I mean, it's also the internet is becoming like a scary, dangerous place. Like I'm that may be one of the reasons we're trying to push this through. I actually kind of think it may even be inevitable that we may all get forced to use like some digital identity, just because of like AI slop. We're going to get inundated. Like it's going to be impossible to know. Like to some extent you can ignore bots, but what happens when the internet is so overrun with bots that there's like 1,000 bot comments to every like real person? Cold calling software firms would be an awesome video. I don't want to pivot into mechanical or electrical or even math, which I enjoy math because my heart isn't in it. Yeah, we'll see. There's a bunch of video ideas I could do. I've got a long list of backlog of content I want to get out. We could just form our own peer-to-peer network with point-to-point WAN machines, WAN meshes. We could. Time to make our own internet. Then we don't have to worry about IDs. Yeah, that would be. I'd actually thought like years ago it'd be interesting to do a video idea on that, of like how to build your own internet, like complete with border gateway protocol and everything. And there's a proof of concept at one of the hacker meetups. Please make that video. It would be a lot of work, and I'd actually have to do a bunch of research because there's a few things that I know you can do, but I don't quite know how to do them. I know how to make a CPU. Can you teach me how to make a GPU? Need to finish my PC. It's quite similar. You just have to make you just have to get the right photo mask. Just get a slightly different one that has all the traces for the GPU layout. It'll gain as much traction as how to make a CPU. Yeah, I would imagine that's something that could be popular, but to do the video production on it, I mean, it depends. I could do like a general appeal one, kind of like the how to make a CPU one. But if I did make this video, I'd probably want to make it like actually teach it like that. For the how to make a CPU one, no one's going to actually make their own CPU. Well, I mean, there might be some, might be able to make one transistor or something with that knowledge, but I wouldn't mind making a video that was like how to actually make your own internet. Briar is in Java and does a bunch of the peer-to-peer stuff. Briar, interesting. I'll have to Google that if I remember. Memory read OP may have to traverse a mesh of rotor nodes. What are you debugging? Sorry, I skipped back, but couldn't find it. I'm debugging this terminal-based video game. I'm currently working on some test cases, so you can see there's some glitches in the user interface here. I'm working on fixing the glitches and also refactoring it to make it faster. It's really hard to find CS networking or cybersecurity resources out there. Just search. ICO board with Polyflow to make your own FPGA implementation of GPU. Interesting. I didn't know that. So I guess that adds to your question about earlier in the chat. If you want to make your own GPU, check out ICO board. Will you give everyone bunnies after you take over the world? I think that's I was originally thinking about ponies, but actually bunnies would be cheaper. So I think I can get on board with that idea. Splendid. Polyflow previously. Polyflow was Ice Storm. Thoughts on passport broing into Africa and having wife and children from there? I don't know, the idea of just like randomly going to a new country and I have experience going to a random country, or like going to a random country, or not random, but going to a totally new place and try to establish yourself. It's difficult if you don't have some social network, if you just like go to a random place by yourself. You can do it, but it's takes a very long time to meet people, make friends, and sure. I'm doubtful that. I think a lot of those. There's tons of people who have that idea. There's tons of guys who have that idea, and then they go to like Colombia or something, and then they get murdered, or someone drugs them and takes all their money. Thoughts on being a professional day trader? I tried that in the past. I've talked about that before. I should make a dedicated video on that because people ask me about that surprisingly frequently. Really got to commit to the Rosetta Stone and learn the lingo before trying that trick. Yeah, I think if you go to like a random country, and you let's say you go to a bar and there's like attractive women that come up to you for no reason, and they're like, "Hey, I want to be your friend," and you're some foreigner, that probably should raise alarm bells. But if you go there, if you go somewhere to like teach English or something, and then you're in the staff room and you meet someone there, or you meet like a person and their friends or something, that's kind of a more normal way to meet people. But that would probably have better odds of success. Yeah, waking up without a kidney, or it's not everywhere is going to be something sinister, but like I think there's definitely places, like there's tons of stories of foreigners that go down to like Mexico and stuff and go to like party locations, and I think someone's really interested in them, and then they wake up and all their jewelry and their expensive Rolex that they bought is gone, and so I think I'm not even checking the active states. not checking active states properly. Actually, I should probably just wrap all of that. Oh, I can't do that because this is slicing through all the layers. Debugging tactics. Can you place conditional debug points? Are you giving a suggestion, or I don't think I need those at the moment. I think I figured out why that was not passing. Well, it looks like it didn't. Still not passing. This is repetitive, but once it works, I'm going to probably refactor it. Can you in this current development setup? That's a good question. I guess I can go like, oh, yep. I guess actually it's a good point. Often I'll write like an if condition and then just breakpoint in the if condition, but never thought about using that feature. Trying to learn GDB. I learned it a little bit. I haven't really used it in a while. got so many for loops, I'm getting lost. To debug some complicated networking stuff they're having me do in our custom Linux image. Interesting. You said you do you're writing code for like weighing scales. Is that for like small like gram scales, or for like large industrial scales? World domination. Yep. I've got a video explaining my plans. If you can check my channel for my plans for world domination. All scales. I guess there's some similar stuff going on there. I have so you probably know all about what is it? Is it Wheatstone bridges? I think that's what they're called. I have a few of those. Like, it's just a piece of aluminum with like a weird shape on it. I guess when you put force on it, it changes the electrical characteristics. I think that's what it's called, a Wheatstone bridge, or Wheatstone something. It's your bread and butter. Yeah, I know enough about them. I programmed like one of them, but I've let some like code to use one on an Arduino. There's a lot of magic involved in those kinds of devices. You really have to know the physics. Okay, let's just run the debugger. Oh, that's not the right place. Making a load cell ticker that applies a time domain reflectometer to the thing. To the thing. We're also trying out a surface acoustic wave load cell system. Interesting. I've never heard of those. Time domain reflectometer. Except this is all to get better accuracy. That almost sounds like stuff that would be patented. I would imagine that to make that stuff super accurate, it's a lot of work. All right, let's see where this is going wrong. Just some piezoelectric rocks screaming at each other in a box to figure out the weight. Interesting. So it's basically like using acoustics to measure it. Piezoelectricity is pretty interesting. There's a lot of interesting physics going on there. Also, did you know that wood is piezoelectric? The frequency they decide to scream at is what figures the weight out. Interesting. That's a pretty crazy way to measure something. I would not have guessed that would work. All right, active states are both false. How is the game progression? Honestly, I'm getting very slowed down. I thought I could maybe spend a couple days fixing some bugs with the layer merging process with multi-column characters, and my solution ended up being more complicated. And then I was like, you know what? Why don't I just write a way more robust solution? So now I'm writing some basically like fuzz tests. So once it's done, it's going to work very well. Unfortunately, currently it's very slow. I think I actually have some bugs where it's trying to write to the screen way more than it's supposed to. But I'm gonna wait till I have the good test case, a good test suite first, and then I can try to optimize it and make it faster. It's a difficult. Once you gone a certain distance on building a system, you get to a point where you try to make it faster, but to make it faster, you have to make it more complicated. But when you make it more complicated, you introduce bugs. So it's a balance of writing smart enough code that doesn't have enough bugs, but then also sometimes in making it more correct, you also make it slower. So the DDRs for detecting load cell failures before they happen. Oh, like you have too much weight on it and it breaks. right, these get skipped. That's correct. All right, that's what I expected. No character found. All right, calculate occlusions the other way. All right, that's what I expect. Yeah, don't want to give away too many secrets. Mouse is getting lots of clicks. Yep. YouTube is implementing an AI that will guess your age. If the AI thinks you're under 18, it applies age restriction. Wow, that's interesting. I mean, AI is probably good enough to actually be successful at that. I mean, actually, that's going to be very interesting, because immediately, like you can guarantee that kids are going to be like, okay, how to evade the ban? And it's like what I said before about, I don't know how many of you were present when I talked about the other time about like when the AI in the future, when the AI tries to ban and censor us, it's going to cause us to change our speech and mannerisms. So you're going to have young people that like learn that they'll be like, oh man, I had a tough day at work. The wife and kids are angry at me. I can't wait to go drive my car to the supermarket and just talk like an adult in order to prime the AI. Not all kids will do that, but you'll definitely have like the smartest subset will figure that out. Grow your vocabulary quick. Yeah. I mean, in the UK, they had that AI age verification, and kids are already finding out, like, you can use images of video game characters to evade it. Okay, that's the case that I expect. But why Why is it giving me the wrong result? Daspam sends $1.99 for world domination. Thank you very much. We're now up to $10 tonight. Only a few more dollars to go. You must use this many Latin-rooted words in a paragraph. Yeah, I wonder how it's going to work. Or watch a news channel in the background. A couple of videos. Yeah, I mean, as soon as they bring it out, I'm sure there's going to be ample information on how to evade the ban. Not watching mainstream news. Make me a kid again. If that's a requirement. I found, like, not only is mainstream media, like, it has a bias. I think what is actually happened a lot with mainstream media is, like the actual, like, if you wanted to be a good journalist, if you wanted to do like good investigative journalism, if you're a good investigative journalism today, why would any, like, if you just think of it, but from your perspective, if you wanted to report on news, would you apply for a job at a news company? What person would actually pursue that career path when you could just use go on YouTube or Twitter or whatever? Because if you can control your fame, and like, why would you want to have an editor above you or be working, you know, on a leash at some company? So I think the best, most talented people in the industry would never aspire to go into mainstream media, or they'll leave. And so what's happened is that the mainstream media now is very anemic. I think they just don't have the talent, and the stuff that they do report on has become biased towards like the easiest thing possible. So I think like the police oftentimes has like a feed of like, you know, with basic information about what happened. Like if there's some, you know, a crime that happened somewhere and the facts are, you know, some vandalism or something, they can just like copy and paste what the police posted on their Twitter, because it requires like no work, and there's nobody really manning it. Like I notice now when I try to look for local news, there's just like there's maybe like one piece of news that's like not even usually local. It's like a regional, like there's like a car crash out in the outskirts of Waterloo area or something, and then if you scroll down, there's like you know, here's a viral video. Here's what's trending on social media. Here's a video of a cat. Yes, indeed, terminal-based block mining game. Hell no, I would make a YouTube channel. Yeah, I think that's just, you know, that explains it right there. I think it no longer just bias, straight up cult following. I think honestly, it's reasonable it's reasonable for like a platform to have a bias. But I think the key is we need like balanced bias. So that's why it makes sense to watch if you when I deliberately seek out news sources that I know are biased to a particular viewpoint, just when I want to know like how is the other side covering this. Commentary makes the big bucks. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of appetite for people want to know so and so's take on something. As a journalist, you're better off making a podcast on YouTube. Yeah, that's why nobody. I think that there explains. Like, think about it. If you let's say you worked as a journalist right now, like what would keep you there? What type of person would stay working at a news company in this day and age? If you start uploading, it proves you're not a kid. I don't know. Depends how the algorithm works. Johnny Harris is a pretty reasonable journalist. I'm not familiar with his work. Knox 45 says hello. How's it going? Most of my news comes from channels like Asmongold. Yeah, actually, I see a lot of Asmongold's clips come up in my news feed. I mean, it's actually kind of hilarious and amazing that someone like Asmongold, apparently he has more media pull than like major news networks. And I saw a clip the other day. Apparently, like they mentioned him on MSNBC, and they were on mainstream and MSNBC. They were like discussing like, oh well, Asmongold thinks this, which is just I think that's an amazing statement about the way the industry is now. Okay, let's figure out why this don't work. All right, that's null. It's supposed to be null. X and Y. Okay, observed null, expected in. Oh, here's my new function. As I'm in 2028. It's a possibility. Authentic personality is a marketable brand. Yeah, there's so much AI and slop. I think people are desperate for an actual human, regardless of how flawed the human is. People listen and believe Joe Rogan more than mainstream media. Yeah, honestly, there's so much bias and slant to things that I think what people crave is just like there are people in this building who are kind of like, you know, they're just like old, you know, random elderly people. Like they're not particularly, they're not like genius analysts or something like that. But if they tell me something about like, hey, this thing happened, I would believe that that probably did happen. Whereas when you see, you know, when you see things from the media, you don't know, like, did some company pay them to say that, or like just uninformed opinions are still valuable as long as they're not biased. Subscribed for a while now, but recently started watching your content, bro. Love that you just upload anything that interests you. Keep it up. I'll be checking in for future streams. Thanks for the kind words. Yeah, I could be more consistent, but I have a lot of different styles of stuff I'd like to upload. And if I trust the YouTube algorithm, we'll just figure it out. Okay, let's figure out why. Man, this is taking me almost the whole stream just to figure out this one bug. Okay. Top character. That's not supposed to be the case. Maybe we'll get a how to survive or an eviction video. Eventually, I got a lot of videos on the to-do list. I might go in somewhere else. Have fun. Have a good night. So this will actually need I need to be passing in the merged layer because that's on the bottom. Are you using a canvas package on the front end? Canvas package, like a JavaScript. This is purely in the terminal. So it's ANSI escape sequences. Video on what I should do with my life is really good. I think it gave me really pragmatic advice on pursuing a career. Excellent. Yeah, I think in a way, like some of it was kind of basic, but honestly, there's so much bad advice out there. I think just like and everyone's looking for like some system. So it's like there's the columns I came up with, like the numbers are bad and stuff, but you know, you can at least it's a starting point. You can think about what's popular in your area, and also where to prioritizing high quality information sources rather than just like opinion pieces. Yeah, it's obvious, but not obvious to everyone. That's the thing that people seem to, a lot of adults seem to forget that kids, every single year, like kids get older. That was one of the things that really was imprinted upon me at the college, is that every single time you teach a new class, you have to read it. Like when you teach a class for the second time, the new class doesn't remember the things you just taught the old class. So it's a never ending thing. You just have to constantly teach the current generation of young people things, because young people don't remember the things that you already taught to the old people. It's possible to manipulate more than one glyph at a time. In a normal terminal. Yeah, it depends what you mean by that. Like if you just do a printf statement, you can print. You're printing multiple things at once. Yeah, like if you just fill up the screen with text, you're printing many things at once. I guess I maybe don't understand the question. Asian parents tend to project their wishes too much on their kids, make them pursue a career that they hate. Yeah, I think there's also there's a lot of like I said, there's a lot of bad advice, and I think there's a lot of like parents lean in too much on like kind of like outdated advice. Like they think they're like, if you just get this one degree, then it'll be really hard, but If you persevere, you're guaranteed a job. But they did not get the memo that that's not true anymore. And so they're like, they spend 10 years like giving tough love to their kid, and they think they're doing a good thing, but they're actually like kind of sabotaging a kid. And then at the end of it, they're like, oh geez, I guess I'm wrong. Oh well. Hope it works out for you. Asian parents also think I'm a doctor, therefore my kids must be a doctor. Otherwise I disown them. Yeah, I'm kind of, I guess I'm fortunate that I don't have doctor parents that also want me to be a doctor. Well, I think I may call it a night. I didn't fix my bug, but I looked at this and I realized that I need to rethink how this works, because I'm setting these layers randomly. I need to do some initialization on the merged layer underneath, and also incorporate that into the into this function here. So I guess we'll be back tomorrow night for day 98. We're almost at 100. All right, talk to you guys later.